papers. They have met Trenton for the construction plans, which have been approved, and probably within the next 2 weeks, they should be applying to the borough for the construction plans to start sometime in December, I hope, depending on the bureaucrats down in Trenton, because they don't make life easy for us. We still continue to work on issues with the lake. I was on a phone call today with the Lake Foundation. Through the winter, we're going to try to see if we come up with some plans that address the issue early next year, because we simply cannot have another year like we had last year. We simply cannot do that. It will really affect our businesses badly. They can't afford another year like this at all. We've had 40% more or loss in revenue to many of our businesses. The marines are getting killed, not only ours, but over on the other side of the lake. And they cannot afford them losses. We've been very aggressive with the state. We have the federal government, and you'll see us talk about extending shorelines. It's not just for the fun of it. What we found is that more than 50% of the phosphorus going into the lake comes from septic, primarily lakefront. So one of the focuses I have is I want to start with Hudson Avenue, take a look at that. I've asked the state, and we've had some very active conversations with the DEP and the federal government to ask for funding for that. So we want to do that in such a way so that we don't create a hardship for our utility users, because as you know, that money can only come from the utility. And so my plan is to get it funded through the state and federal government, not the least of which is the Department of Agriculture. I've talked to them, and I have proposed, it's not just an infrastructure thing. So I'm going after it from a clean water aspect and also a health aspect. Because if our lake doesn't get better, it's going to be the health of our people also, not just the health of our businesses. So bacteria don't have a way of going away if you don't treat them. And so our intent is to treat them. And you'll hear me talk about short-term, mid-term, long-term. Short-term is we do have treatments. I have treatment purchase order ready if the state will ever approve them. But the long-term is taking a look at the sources of phosphorus, not the least of which is septic. So you'll hear me talk about that. I know it's a sore subject. Well, the sewer is such a mess we can't extend the lines. Well, the health of our lake has changed the landscape of how we manage our infrastructure tremendously. So we have to pay attention to that. But we have to do that in such a way as we don't cripple our utilities or add more costs onto our residents. So the object here is to appeal to the federal and state government to help us with this. They certainly help South Jersey with the dunes to protect that from storms. And I understand that, and that's necessary. But we also need to protect our lake and our people. And so I'm simply asking the state and the feds to use the same criteria to aid, to help us here in Northwest Jersey as they do in South Jersey. And I don't think that's such a bad argument. And I have had some pretty good conversations with them. So I'm hoping to report back soon that we've had some success with that. So I really start the conversation with them and at least pay for half of it. And that's the minimum that we're at. And I'd like to do a little bit better than that. And we probably will. But it's a lot of discussion. And you need to know I do that passionately for our lake. Because if we don't do it with the entire West Shore, we're going to be a whole lot of trouble. So I will talk to whoever I have to talk to get that kind of help for our infrastructure and our lake especially. We simply cannot afford to have another year this year like we did last year. And so we need to work very hard on that. So with that being said, that's my comment for tonight. Any comment from the council? Hearing none.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.